You might be curious about whether or not an energy efficiency project is worth it. CDAC has written case studies published on our website about public agencies who implemented energy efficiency projects. We also have several YouTube videos featuring Robinson Water Treatment Plant, Moore School District, and the City of Champaign. All of these agencies were recipients of DCEO incentives.
Okay, so let's review the steps in the application process. After you determine the type of project that you're going to pursue and gather some basic information about what you will do, you submit a pre-approval application, which must be submitted by April 15th, 2014 at the latest. The submission of a pre-approval application allows DCEO to review and approve equipment and the amount of the corresponding incentives and reserves the funding for your project. All custom projects require the submission of a pre-approval application. This step is optional for standard measures, but is still highly recommended so that you make sure you reserve funding. And DCEO then reviews this application and gives you a notice to proceed if the application is complete. Next, you install the equipment, and after the project is complete and operational, submit the final application, where you resubmit the same form with any changes from the original plan. This step must be completed by May 15th, 2014 at the latest to receive funds during the 2013-2014 program year. And if your project is delayed and you aren't able to complete it until a future year, you may still be able to get funding, but the rates won't be announced until June of each year, and they usually change a little bit.
Let's recap the important dates. September 30th for Hinge pre-approval applications. October 31st, 2013 for a 10% bonus. If you miss that date, then February 14th, 2014 to receive a 5% bonus. And then April 15th, 2014 for pre-approval applications. And May 15th, 2014 for final applications.
So, as we mentioned previously, CDAC is available to help with filling out DCEO applications. And if you select a contractor from DCEO's Trade Ally list, those folks can also help you with your paperwork. There are also some other organizations that can help you fill out your application. You can see their detailed contact information on this slide, and we might redirect you to one of them if you ask us for help. Sometimes we get a little inundated over here, and they're just as qualified. And then I want to open it up for questions now, so you can go ahead and type a question in the chat box. And while people are thinking about that, we have some more detailed information about the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus Aggregation Grant Program for 2013-2014. And this is a special program for folks in the Chicago area who are served by ComEd, Peoples Gas, North Shore Gas, and Nicor Gas. And all kinds of public agencies can use the services from the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus. And they can even help you apply for additional funding from the Illinois Clean Energy Community Foundation. So that's pretty awesome. And they also can pay you the incentives directly on behalf of DCEO, so the processing time can be a little bit faster. Okay, so Kathy is wondering if the other people who can help fill out applications do it for free, or if there's a charge, and it's all free. DCEO funds those programs to help people with applications, so you don't have to worry about any additional cost. And Kendall is wondering about energy efficient window installations for public facilities. And I guess I will say it's pretty rare that you can qualify for incentives for windows. If you wanted to consider it, you would fill out a custom application, but the payback period has to be between 1 and 7 years. And typically with windows, the payback period is going to be a little bit longer. Stephanie is wondering on page 17 of the application under the HVAC equipment type is the information required for the existing equipment or what you're replacing it with. And you would fill out the information for the new equipment. Kendall is wondering, can you apply for more than one project? And yes, you can. To my knowledge, there's not a limit on how much any one entity can get, but I think Byron or Andrea could clarify that.
I think Byron and Andrea may want to clarify this, but the preference is to keep a project to an individual building and to not aggregate multiple buildings into one project. It makes it easier to review the form and to sort of track and manage the project that way.
Okay, so Kendall is wondering, does this apply to new construction projects as well? There's a separate set of application forms for new construction projects. Okay, so one person was asking if they have a couple hundred line items on a lighting project and they already have files with that information. Do they have to put it all in the forms, or could they just make a PDF that matches your forms?
Well, you know, we have went back and forth about that because that's the one thing our new form does not address. If we have a very long light survey in the past, we preferred to get it in an Excel version. That way, if there were multiple light fixture types, new, retrofit, what have you, we could sort it ourselves and make it easier for us to review it. Right now, if we get a survey and it's in the order possibly of the walkthrough, that's great for the site verification that we have to do when we make a site visit, so we can kind of follow the tracks, but it's not so great if there's multiple different types of fixtures and we're trying to reconcile the lighting incentive worksheet with the light survey. So it certainly does present a problem for us when it's more than a page of information. What we've decided this year is to allow people to go ahead and use the format that they have, as long as all the information that we're requiring is in their spreadsheet. That said, you'd have to look at our light survey and you see we require the room name and the room number and all the information. So that's what we would be looking for, and we would of course like to have that in Excel if possible. Now at application time, that may not be possible. You may just have to go ahead and print it off and submit it as a PDF. But just know that if the DCEO staff reviewer needs the Excel version, it would be good to have it handy for us. If it has multiple pages, it makes it much easier for us to review. And as we move forward with our forms, we're trying to figure out how to address that problem the best, to make it easy for our applicants as well as our reviewers.
Okay.
The question, Sue typed a question about using the funding to improve outside lighting, and you've got both interior campus roads and parking lots, and do you want to submit as one project or as two? I can tell you that it doesn't matter so much to DCEO, but anytime that you have incentives that are over $150,000, that means we have to issue a grant. And a grant is a much more complicated process than a large rebate agreement, which is what we are able to pay incentives for less than $150,000. So I guess that would kind of be the first thing I'd look at. It might make sense to you if you're right at that level to go ahead and divide it into two projects. Or if you wanted to divide it into two projects so you can get your incentive for the first part and then use that incentive to roll into the second part of your project. So it's kind of either way, but regardless, you do need a utility bill for both sections. Stephanie has a question that her project's already in construction and there is a upcoming completion date. I would just suggest that you go ahead and submit the application as soon as possible, so if there was any problem with the eligibility, you would know right away not to expect the incentive, or possibly maybe the incentive is different than what you think it is. This way we would have a better idea for you to pass on to the applicant on what type of incentive they would be eligible for. But it's not necessarily required that you submit a pre-approval, but as always, it does guarantee your funding, and it helps us with planning as well.
Great, thanks. Kendall's asking if she can have a copy of this presentation, and yes, we're gonna. Well, the slides are actually already posted on CDAC's website, and well, we may try and email out the presentation as well. The program that we're using for the webinar doesn't give us a record of your email addresses, but we should be able to find them in our constant contact database. But if you just go to cdac.org, there's a link on the right side for presentation archive. Okay, and then Karen also just noted that the new construction application is still being finalized for program year 2013-2014. They will post the application online eventually, but if you have questions, you can contact Jean Ascoli. She's in our office. She's the CDAC New Construction Program Director, and her number is 217-244-7755. I'm glad to see that people found this helpful. And again, if you have specific questions, I can help you sort of walk through things.
While we're sitting here, possibly waiting for another question, I can give you some other event dates that may be of interest to you. One is called Greening the Heartland, which is sponsored by the U.S. Green Building Council's Midwest Regional Conference. That's coming up September 9th and 10th at the Holiday Inn Mart Plaza in Chicago. And there is an Energy Efficiency Expo. That's going to be held September 10th at the Donald Stevens Convention Center in Rosemont. That's got the involvement of ComEd, Nicor Gas, Peoples Gas, North Shore Gas, and DCEO. And that will be the 2013 Energy Efficiency Expo.
And if you missed the webinar the other day, you can watch the archived version. It's on our YouTube site. If you go to cdac.org, well, if you follow the address on this last slide, you can check out the video from part 1 or share it with your friends.
One last event that may be of interest to all of you or people you work with that are involved in building operations management. There is a building operator certification program, BOC, and this is to offer a variety of building management technologies, but the emphasis is really very practical, no cost, low cost solutions working with existing building systems to improve energy performance. The Building Operator Certification Program trains operation and maintenance staff to develop a preventive maintenance program that improves the building environment and prolongs equipment life. So the training series will begin this September in Chicago, Springfield, Peoria, and Carbondale. And you can get information about this by contacting Eric Roach at 312-784-7277. And you can get more information from Eric.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and add an extra slide to the presentation before I post today's version of the slides, in case you want to learn more about those events. Or you can look at the CDAC newsletter. Well, I'm not seeing any more questions at this point, so I think we're just about done. For those of you that have other things to get to, but if you have any more questions, we'll stay on the line for another minute or two. And answer those. And we thank you so much for joining our webinar today.